is your privacy. Most consumers now think that total privacy in the digital world, it doesn't exist anymore. Most of them are also not necessarily worried about that. And in fact, they're willing to trade that privacy for a good deal. A new study from Accenture Interactive found, and we have Glenn Hartman, Managing Director at the firm, here to talk about it. Glenn, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on today.
Great, thanks. Great to be here.
This is an interesting survey. I don't think the results are necessarily a shocker, but just the number of people who really just don't even think that you can have privacy anymore is very interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, privacy is absolutely a major concern. And you're seeing, though, as you had mentioned, I think also it's an opportunity as well for people to start to find a comfort zone in that give and take that you just mentioned.
Yeah, you wonder, I mean, is it the kind of thing where this idea has kind of gone so far by the wayside that people don't even really think about, I want to have privacy. The whole thing becomes a series of trade-offs now.
I think so. I mean, for me, and when we did the study, Accenture's findings were really boiled down to one key factor, which was around establishing trust. People are willing to give up certain kinds of privacy or information if they're going to get value in a trusted environment.
Yeah, and what are we talking about? I mean, on both sides, how does this play out now? Because you have the consumer side, obviously, and you have the marketer side, you have the business side, that they know, I guess they know that they can get certain information out of you. Let's talk about it from the business side. How do they handle that relationship?
Well, we're seeing a big shift. It's an evolution. There's so much new types of data and other ways, new ways to interact with customers that I think organizations are really they're at the tipping point in a way for looking how to transform their whole business around the customer. So people have been talking about customer centricity and the customer is always right for years, but I think they're really getting serious now, taking a look at new performance metrics, new ways to organize the company so that way they're really focused around that customer engagement.
You know, it's interesting because for the years and years and years when we've talked about privacy in the online world, the big concern was, is the government spying on you? And for very good reasons, I'm not saying that. But it seems like people who are very concerned about government spying, they're not nearly as concerned about a private entity having their information, a corporation, somebody. Why is that, do you think?
Well, I think it's a level, again, this idea of trust is an interesting concept. I'll give you an example. I know that if you think of maybe when you go to a doctor's appointment, you go to get your physical.
Right.
This is a really invasive process. You go in, most of the time you take off all your clothes, they ask you lots of personal questions about you and maybe even your history, your family history. But you're willing to give that up because you know it's going to help the doctor give you a better diagnosis. And this idea of understanding the different types of information and the value you get, there's an equation. And companies and individuals are dealing with that tolerance for privacy and that value equation more and more.
Let's talk about you. The last time you guys did this survey was 2012. Some things have changed, obviously. Let's talk about some of the numbers that we got up here. And you can see here, I mean, obviously 87% adequate safeguards not in place. That is a very big number. But talk about this 40% number where 40% of people think only about 10% of their data is actually private now.
Yeah, so this is really a call to action, I think, to companies. We have an opportunity, I think, for the CMO, who's been traditionally known to know the customer best and through focus groups and other kinds of research and just engaging with the customer, to really extend their purview. And at Accenture, we're finding that CMOs have to think about the experience beyond just marketing or branding and look at sales and service and loyalty in a variety of ways, and then find. The key point is around this, people say, well, it's all about big data. And we find it's not so much about big data, it's about finding the right data. If you can find that gold nugget to make that customer feel comfortable and have some established trust or send relevant messages, that is a new purview of the CMO, and it's kind of a call to action for them to step up and really start to push that agenda.
Yeah.